What's going on today, guys? It's a nice fall day. Sun's right in my eyes, but not really doing much today but mowing. So I figure it's a good opportunity if I'm going to make a video, talk about something we're going to have coming up here, and that's cool season grass weed control. And I'm probably just going to overview some of the different product choices and why to choose what product, where and when, and what each one does a little differently, and kind of a little idea of behind the combinations in some of these products. Ought to be riveting. Stay tuned. I can't even begin to tell you what a massive red letter day this is for me. They got bathrooms at the shop. Yeah. In cool season grasses, there's a lot of stuff we can use to control weeds. The basic is going to be just a three-way amine herbicide, like triad, triplet, something like that. And there's a ton of different ones out there, but they're going to be all basically the same. It's going to be 2,4-D, MC, Mecaprop, dicamba, something like that in a combination. And I mean, that works well for a good broad spectrum of weed control, and they're generally pretty safe on the grass on most turf types. When you get into some of the other warm season grass types, there are some sensitive ones, but we're not really talking about that. And 2,4-D and Mecaprop are what they call Phenoxy herbicides, and most of these products are going to be a combination of the two Phenoxys, the 2,4-D and the Mecaprop, and a benzoic herbicide called dicamba. The combination works well, but it's mostly going to be for broadleaves, and there are going to be some harder to control broadleaves that you're commonly going to run across in fescue and other cool season grasses that you won't have any effect with this stuff. I don't have the luxury in a lot of cases of trying to keep coming back, so I'm gonna hit it with something that's a little more quality to start with. They're gonna have a kicker in them. There's different kickers that you would use for different things, but the most common and probably the most effective formulations for cool season grass are going to be something with fluroxapyr in it. Is a pyridine. Fluroxapyr and triclopyr are pyridine. I think I just said fluroxapyr for the most common. I meant to say triclopyr if I didn't. But anyway, triclopyr is going to really whack most of your weeds, and fluroxapyr is a pretty similar thing, and it's effective as well. But triclopyr and into one of these three-way herbicides is really where it's at for cool season weed control, for cool season grass weed control. I like products like I've always liked the old Lesco Momentum FX2, but if you dig into that product a little bit, it's a New Farm makes it. So, and it's basically just a three-way with some triclopyr in it, and it will get with the majority of your harder to control weeds that you're going to find in fescue. And probably the most common things you're going to run up in with fescue that are hard to control in a broadleaf weed is things like wild violet and creeping Charlie, ground ivy, things like that. Wild violets are hard to get because they got that waxy coating on them, and your herbicide tends to not penetrate that. This time of year, the fall, you're generally very effective with your weed controls because the plants are in carbohydrate storage mode. We're a little late right now, actually, but in the early fall, October, late September, when the plant, when the days get shorter and you see your Bermuda grasses start to decline, then on your cool season side or any weed control that plants are storing down, and it's a good time to hit them and get them gone, because it'll pull that herbicide down into the root zone and take the plant out, as to where, you know, when you use something like a PPO inhibitor or something that just burn the leaves right off of it in the summertime, it'll generally recover on a lot of these plants because the foliage just fell off and it still had a root system and it came back to life. I digress. I see triclopyr is very effective on wild violet. There's some good products out there. New Farm has a good variety of them. Shore Power is excellent for them, but it's kind of limited to summertime use because that flumioxazin, which is the kicker in it, is hard on the young grass or tender grass. You really want your favorable turf to be hardened off before you start spraying Shore Power, or you'll bronze your grass. And I know this because I've done it several times. Traffic coming back. So look for products with a kicker added to them, like 4-Speed XT, Speed Zone even. Speed Zone has carfentrazone in it, which is a PPO inhibitor, nice burn down herbicide. Speed Zone's really effective. And again, I like all the New Farm stuff. The Shore Power is good, but you're really limited to the time of year that you can use. That flumioxazin in there is potent. But if all else fails, go to the Shore Power. So, you know, your basic 3 ways will control a lot of your broadleaf issues, but then when you get in these tougher to control weeds, you really do want to look into these more upgraded herbicides with a kicker in them. Like your 4-Speed XT is going to have the octane, the powerflutin ethyl, but highly effective PPO kicker in there. Quinclorac is a fantastic kicker. Quinclorac will really step up your 2,4-D products a good bit. So Quinclorac is awesome. So just like big taproot plants, crabgrass, things like that. Obviously, we're not going to be dealing with crabgrass on these fall applications and winter applications, but that could be helpful too. But Quinclorac is a good all-around kicker for your 3 ways. So you can make your own by buying these products and adding a kicker, or you can look for the products that already contain the kicker. Some of them already formulated style stuff. I don't really like the Q4. I never had any luck with that one. It doesn't seem to have enough Q going on for it. Something about that formulation just ain't jiving. But other than that, I like just about everything New Farm's doing with their triclopyr and fluroxapyr formulations. All of them are really effective for your cool season grass weed needs. And what you'd look for in the different formulations, the ester versus amine is during these cooler times, I tend more toward the ester. The ester is going to be a petroleum based, where the amine's more like water. Think latex paint versus oil paint. I don't know, whatever, however you want to think it. But in cooler weather, the esters seem to be much more effective. And the drawback to the esters in the summertime is they can be a little over effective, and you can burn stuff, and plus they're a bit volatile, and they can volatilize, and you can make a big vapor cloud and go over and kill those bushes over there. Not gonna do that. So we talked about the fall time and being key, adding the kickers, or looking for products with kickers, like fluroxapyr, triclopyr, even carfentrazone, sulfentrazone, powerflutin ethyl, flumioxazin, Quinclorac. So those are your added products to your 3-way you can look at, and look for products like that. And your surfactant can be very key as well to really help you penetrate those waxy cuticles on a lot of these plants. Things like methylated seed oil. There's there's bukus of surfactants out there. You can just look and see what, some of the products will even have a surfactant recommended for them. And you know, with ester stuff, I mean, a surfactant may or may not carry as much weight because it's already in that, you know, oily form, so it's gonna penetrate. But I do like to add a surfactant to a lot of these things. Crop oil concentrates, methylated seed oil. I like the geez, what's that stuff called? I got a cup with a hook. The dreaded Poa annua. What do you do there? Well, Poa annua is tough to control in fescue or bluegrass or whatever, because it is a bluegrass. So what, you know, pre-emergent wise, it's hard to get a pre-emergent on fescue when you're seeding it. So, you know, you're not going to have much luck with a pre-emergent, and your common pre-emergents like prodiamine that you would use on a cool season grass don't have much effect on Poa annua anyway. Probably the best thing you can do is about this time of year, about November, start going out with ethyl fumicate. You can find that under names like Poa constrictor and Poa Baloa or whatever. I don't remember the other products, but look for ethyl fumicate and try to get that out in November. Your other option on Poa annua is early in the spring. Get out on it with a new growth regulator at the full rate for fescue. And I did a lot of this last year, but I was a little late, but it still had some really nice results. And what it'll do is it'll regulate that Poa annua down to way below the canopy in a lot of cases, and in some cases it'll just wig it out and kill it because it's over-regulated. But sorry, I was walking and bouncing. So the new growth regulator at the 1 pound per acre rate gave me a lot of luck with suppressing and making that color blend in with the Poa annua, and it will keep it from flowering. So you can try that route too, or the ethyl fumicate. All right, well, there's just a brief overview on some of the things you can use for weed control in fescue. I probably won't even get started on mine until into December. And I haven't even really taken a survey of what kind of weeds I got in any of them. This one, I don't see much of anything I got to worry about. But, you know, that'll determine what product I go out with. But, you know, as the weather gets cooler, think more of these ester-based formulations. And if you're seeing things like ground ivy and wild violet, look for something containing triclopyr, or something, or maybe even try some of these gotta switch hands here, some of these other kickers that are in some of the other products I mentioned. But it's just a place to start. After getting back home here, I reviewed some of the video I made and realized maybe I needed to make it a little more coherent. I don't script any of this stuff or even really research it. I just kind of spit it out when I'm out there. So I'm going to summarize a little bit to try to simplify. We're talking about going after winter weeds, fall weeds in cool season grass like fescue. Basically the weeds you're going to see are going to be things like chickweed, henbit, some clovers, and then they're going to be harder to control weeds like wild violet and ground ivy. Your Phenoxy herbicides will do a pretty good job of, you know, your 2,4-Ds, mecaprop, things like that, will do a pretty good job of controlling your chickweed, your clovers, etc. But they're going to struggle with ground ivy and especially wild violet. So what I would look for, if you have mostly wild violet present, go for, especially in cooler weather, go for an ester-based formulation that is going to contain the 2 Phenoxy herbicide, or some combination of Phenoxy herbicides like 2,4-D, and the mecaprop, the benzoic herbicide dicamba, and your kicker in that one should be the pyridine triclopyr is the most effective on wild violet. And also consider a good penetrative surfactant like a crop oil concentrate or a methylated seed oil. If you come to the property and your predominant hard to control weed is ground ivy, then maybe you should consider a PPO inhibitor like carfentrazone as your kicker. So a product like Speed Zone would do well for you there. So look for a product like that if your main hard to control weed is ground ivy. If you got sedges present, then obviously you're going to want to look for something that's safe for fescue but can control sedges, like Solero or any of the halosulfuron products like Sedge Hammer, Pro Sedge. Always read your label instructions for your rates and everything on all of this. I get a lot of questions about onions. Onions, you see a lot of that in the wintertime. The way to tell if you got an onion versus a sedge is, I mean, you can look at it and tell, but you can really smell it and tell too. Onion or garlic is going to smell like onion or garlic, where a sedge won't really have much of an odor. So your onions are usually pretty easily controlled. Well, I say easily. Your Phenoxy herbicides, your 2,4-D, Imidacloprid, etc. will control your onions, but the problem is you don't have much of a target there because it's just a little skinny wax covered stick. So your surfactant is going to be important, and getting those drops on that little target to get it to soak in. So again, something like Speed Zone, which is going to be have the 2,4-D ester in it, is going to get in there well. Your Momentum FX2, a lot of your other the triclopyr products will be fine, but if onions are your main concern, something with the quick burn down herbicide in it and the 2,4-D ester like Speed Zone might be what you're really after. The red label, good old-fashioned Speed Zone. All right, there's your little advice to be armed with when you go out shopping for your cool season herbicides. In the cooler weather, definitely look more for the ester formulations. I like all the New Farm products. Their formulations seem to be right in line with what I want for my cool season weed control. And I do like to go ahead and spring for the more premium products with the nice kicker in them, so I can get the job done in one application and not have to worry about as much coming back for the harder control weeds later. I appreciate you guys watching. Leave some comments and questions below. Subscribe. Somebody showed me how to look at the thing. Never mind, I won't even get into it. But I noticed most of my views come from unsubscribed viewers. So subscribe, whatever that does for you. Anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Talk to you later.